I want to talk to you today about something that's been weighing heavy on my heart. It's about shifting your focus, shifting it from everything and everyone else to you. You may have been giving all your energy, your love, your time to everyone around you. But what if I told you that it's time to focus on yourself until the focus is you? You have to start somewhere, and the best place to begin is with you. You can't change your life. You can't transform your situation until you first recognize your worth and understand who you are at your core. You've spent so much time looking at what everyone else needs, at what everyone else wants from you, and you've forgotten to focus on you. But let me tell you something, until you realize that your worth is not determined by the opinions or validation of others, you will continue to search for something that's already within you. You have a unique purpose, and that purpose can't be found in someone else's journey. It's not hidden in the approval of others. The first step is to recognize that your value was never up for negotiation. It wasn't for sale, and it wasn't a transaction. The moment you were born, you were already enough. It doesn't matter where you've been or what you've been through, your worth is unshakable. And yet, so many of us spend years, decades trying to prove something to people who have no idea what we're capable of. But the truth is, you don't need anyone else to see it before you do. You don't need anyone else to validate it before you acknowledge it. The moment you realize your worth, everything begins to shift. That's when the journey of transformation begins. It's when you finally stop looking outside of yourself for answers and you start looking within. There's a quiet, powerful strength inside of you that's been waiting for your attention. That strength, that power, that greatness, everything you need to unlock your next level is already inside you. But you'll never find it if you keep looking in the wrong places. Too many of us make the mistake of thinking that once we're successful, once we've achieved something, then we'll be enough. We place our worth in accomplishments and external things and how we measure up to the standards of others. We measure our value by what we've done, by what others think of us, by what we have. But that's not where your worth comes from. Your worth comes from the simple fact that you are here, you are alive, and you are breathing. You are enough exactly as you are. And when you recognize that, you will begin to shift the focus. What would happen if you started to pour into yourself? What if you stopped pouring into everyone else, trying to please everyone else, and you turned that attention inward? I'm not saying that you shouldn't help others or be there for the people you love. But I am saying that you cannot give what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to fill yourself up first. You have to take care of yourself first. That means loving yourself, nurturing yourself, and giving yourself what you need. Only then will you have the capacity to give to others in a way that's sustainable, in a way that is rooted in genuine love and care rather than in obligation or exhaustion. When you begin to focus on yourself, when you begin to nurture your soul, protect your peace, and set boundaries, you will find that your energy starts to shift. You will no longer feel drained. You will no longer feel overwhelmed. But this doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes the courage to say, I am worth this. I am worth the time, the space, and the love I need to heal, to grow, and to become the best version of myself. This isn't just about self-care. It's about self-respect. It's about honoring your body, your mind, and your spirit by giving them the care they deserve. And let's be real for a moment, this isn't easy. There will be moments when the world will try to pull you in every direction. People will try to take up your time, your energy, and your focus. You'll feel the pressure to be everything to everyone. But you have to create boundaries. You have to protect your peace at all costs. No one has the right to disturb your peace. If you have to walk away from something or someone to preserve your well-being, do it. You don't owe anyone your peace. That peace is yours to protect. And when you focus on protecting it, you'll see how much it transforms your life. The world is loud. The world is noisy. There are so many voices, so many opinions, and so many distractions. But you have to learn to silence the noise. You have to hear your own voice above all the chatter. When you quiet the distractions, you begin to hear God's voice more clearly, the voice that has always been speaking to you. That voice has been guiding you, directing you, and calling you to a higher place. But you will never hear it if you're listening to everyone else. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. Growth is never easy. But if you want to become the best version of yourself, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Growth happens in discomfort. You don't grow when you're in your comfort zone. You don't grow when everything is easy. You grow when you step outside of what you know, when you embrace the challenge, when you push through the pain and the discomfort, knowing that it's shaping you into who you're meant to be. And finally, you have to be consistent. The transformation you're looking for won't happen overnight. It won't happen in one moment. But if you commit to showing up for yourself every single day, no matter how small the step, you will begin to see progress. You'll begin to see the shift. You'll begin to realize that as you focus on yourself, as you pour into yourself, the world will begin to notice. The focus will shift, and you will become the person you were always meant to be. The journey of becoming the person you are destined to be is not one that happens overnight, and it certainly isn't a straight line. It is a path filled with highs and lows, detours, and moments of doubt. But each step is a crucial part of the process. When you begin to focus on yourself, you may feel uncertain at first. There might be fear, resistance, and discomfort because the world has trained you to think that focusing on your own growth is selfish. But the reality is, focusing on yourself is one of the most selfless things you can do. The more you work on becoming the best version of yourself, the more you'll be able to give to the world and those around you from a place of abundance, not depletion. Most of us have spent so much time pouring into other people's dreams, aspirations, and needs that we forget we are worthy of pouring into our own. We spend years, sometimes lifetimes, adjusting ourselves to fit the molds and expectations of others. We go through life trying to prove something to someone, seeking validation from people who don't even know the depth of what we carry inside. We allow other people's voices to drown out our own. But what if you decided that today, right now, would be the moment when you stopped seeking validation and started validating yourself? Imagine the freedom you would experience if you stopped looking for others to confirm your worth and just began to recognize it within yourself. Imagine how your confidence would shift if you understood deep down that everything you need to be successful, to thrive, and to live the life you've always dreamed of is already inside of you. The first step toward that kind of transformation is making the conscious decision to put your focus on yourself. This doesn't mean you have to ignore the people around you or stop caring about others. It simply means you begin to prioritize your growth, your healing, and your well-being first. When you focus on yourself, you're giving yourself permission to be the person you've always dreamed of becoming. And in that permission, you allow yourself to experience the growth you need in order to become all that you are capable of being. Too often, we put off our own dreams, our own desires, and our own goals in favor of making sure everyone else is taken care of first. But what good is it if you pour from an empty cup? What good is it if you burn out trying to be everything for everyone else, only to have nothing left to give when it matters most? Self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. When you take the time to fill your own cup, you can offer something greater to those around you. When you nurture yourself, when you take care of your body, mind, and soul, you're setting yourself up for success. You're preparing yourself to not only face the challenges life throws your way, but to thrive in the midst of them. If you constantly neglect your own needs, you're only setting yourself up for exhaustion, burnout, and frustration. That's not the life you were meant to live. Start by giving yourself permission to breathe. Give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to say no when something or someone threatens your peace. Create space in your life for the things that bring you joy, for the things that fill you up, and for the things that allow you to grow. And yes, that means you will have to make tough decisions. You'll have to draw boundaries and let go of things, people, or habits that drain your energy or hold you back. You'll have to walk away from situations that no longer serve your highest good. It's hard, but it's necessary. You can't keep giving to others without first ensuring that you have enough to give. Once you begin to focus on yourself, you'll also begin to recognize the areas of your life that need healing. You'll see the patterns of self-doubt, self-sabotage, or fear that have held you back for so long. Healing starts when you acknowledge the parts of yourself that need love, attention, and care. And while it may be painful, healing is also liberating. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of your past, from the stories you've told yourself about what you can or can't do. It's about looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I am worthy of all the good things that are coming my way. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean becoming arrogant or self-centered. It means recognizing your own value and taking responsibility for your life. It's about acknowledging that you have a purpose, a calling, and a destiny that is too great to be wasted on distractions or insecurities. When you focus on yourself, you start to see that you are the one who holds the key to your future. Your decisions, your actions, and your mindset determine how you show up in the world and what you create for your life. The discomfort you experience when you begin to focus on yourself is a sign of growth. Growth never comes without a little bit of discomfort. You won't grow in the comfort of staying the same. You won't reach new heights if you keep doing the same things that have kept you stuck. But the moment you decide to focus on your own development, you start stepping into the person you were always meant to be. And while it may feel uncomfortable at first, I promise you every step you take toward your own growth will be worth it. When you embrace the process of focusing on yourself, you're not just transforming your life, you're transforming the world around you. The more you focus on your own healing, growth, and empowerment, the more you give others permission to do the same. You create a ripple effect. You inspire others to step into their own power and start focusing on their own growth. And that, my friend, is the kind of change this world needs. So start today. Focus on yourself, pour into yourself, heal, grow, and evolve. You owe it to yourself. And in doing so, you will create the life that you've always dreamed of. The hardest part of your journey to transformation begins the moment you decide to make yourself the priority. Society teaches us to be selfless, to give and give, often at the expense of our own well-being. We're told that serving others and sacrificing for others is the true mark of love and selflessness. While those things are indeed important, we must first understand that giving from an empty well doesn't serve anyone, not ourselves, and certainly not others. The truth is, focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. You cannot give your best to the world if you aren't giving your best to yourself first. Focusing on yourself until the focus is you is an act of honoring who you are and recognizing your own worth. So often we spend our time trying to please others, to fulfill the expectations of those around us, or to meet societal standards that were never meant to define us. We find ourselves constantly comparing, competing, and bending ourselves out of shape to fit a mold that never truly fits. But what if you stopped? What if you took a step back from trying to meet everyone else's needs and looked inward? What would you see? Would you see a person worthy of love, happiness, and success? Would you see someone who is deserving of peace, joy, and fulfillment? I believe you would. This journey isn't easy, but it is worthwhile. The first step toward this transformation is simple. Stop looking outside of yourself for validation. Too often we tie our worth to what others think of us, how much they need us, or how much they approve of us. We place our identity in the hands of other people, and in doing so, we forget that the most important voice we need to hear is our own. You must begin by acknowledging your own value. You must recognize that who you are right now in this moment is enough. Your worth does not depend on anyone's approval or opinion. You are worthy simply because you exist, simply because you have breath in your lungs and purpose in your soul. When you focus on yourself, it isn't about being self-centered or arrogant. It's about learning to love and care for yourself in the way that you deserve. It's about recognizing that you have dreams, aspirations, and a calling that only you can fulfill. It's about nurturing the parts of you that need healing, growth, and attention. We all have things within us that need healing, whether it's from past experiences, disappointments, or things we've allowed to hold us back. But when you take the time to focus on yourself, to heal those wounds, you make space for your true self to emerge. You allow yourself to evolve into the person you are meant to become. Too often, we fear the discomfort that comes with personal growth. We fear what it will feel like to confront our flaws, our insecurities, or our past hurts. But growth never happens in the comfort of staying the same. It happens when we challenge ourselves, when we step out of our comfort zones and lean into the unknown. It happens when we allow ourselves to become uncomfortable, knowing that on the other side of that discomfort is the person we were always meant to be. This discomfort is the crucible where our strength is forged, where our character is developed, and where our growth takes root. When you start focusing on yourself, you might feel guilty. You might feel like you're being selfish, like you're not living up to the expectations that others have set for you. But in reality, focusing on yourself is one of the most loving things you can do, not only for you, but for the people you care about. When you are your best self, when you are filled up, healed, and at peace, you become a better partner, friend, parent, and mentor. The energy you give to others is more genuine, more loving, and more fulfilling. You will also begin to recognize that there are people and situations in your life that are draining your energy. Sometimes it's not just about the way we neglect ourselves, but the way others neglect our needs. The way we allow toxic relationships, toxic work environments, or toxic thought patterns to continue without setting boundaries. Focusing on yourself means setting those boundaries, saying no when something doesn't serve your peace, when someone's energy is draining you, or when a situation is keeping you stuck. Saying no to things that don't align with your purpose is one of the most empowering decisions you can make. But here's the secret: when you begin to focus on yourself, you will start attracting people and opportunities that reflect the growth you are cultivating within. You'll begin to see that the more you pour into yourself, the more you align with your true calling, the more the world begins to mirror that. Opportunities will begin to unfold. People will start to recognize your worth, and you will start to see yourself through the lens of your highest potential. Consistency is the key to this transformation. You will not always feel motivated, and you will not always feel inspired, but if you commit to showing up for yourself every single day, the results will come. It's the little things, the everyday practices, the small choices that make the difference over time. Whether it's taking time each day to reflect, to journal, to meditate, to practice gratitude, or to engage in activities that bring you joy, these consistent actions will compound and create real change. As you move through this process of focusing on yourself, remember that this is not an end destination. This is a continuous journey. You will continue to evolve, to grow, and to become more aligned with who you were always meant to be. But each step forward is a victory. Each moment you spend focusing on yourself, choosing to invest in your well-being, is a moment that brings you closer to your purpose. So, begin today. Focus on yourself until the focus is you. Recognize your worth, set your boundaries, and give yourself the love and care you deserve. Allow yourself to grow, to heal, and to evolve into the person you were always meant to become. The world needs your light, but it will only see your light when you first choose to shine. When you decide to focus on yourself, you are not just making a choice, you are making a commitment to your future, to your growth, and to your peace. This commitment is not an easy one. It requires you to face the uncomfortable, the unknown, and the parts of yourself that you may have been avoiding for a long time. But as daunting as it may seem, focusing on yourself is the most powerful decision you can make, because it's the foundation of everything else you want to achieve in your life. When you begin to prioritize yourself, everything else starts to fall into place. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention. There's always someone or something that needs us. Whether it's family, friends, work, or social obligations, there's always a pull to put others first. For so long, we've been taught that to be a good person, a good partner, a good parent, or a good friend, we must always give and give without asking for anything in return. But the truth is, you cannot continue to pour into others if your own cup is empty. You cannot give love, support, or care if you are running on empty. It's not selfish to prioritize your own needs, it's necessary. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean neglecting others. It means recognizing that your well-being and growth are just as important as anyone else's. When you give yourself the time, attention, and space to grow, heal, and evolve, you become the best version of yourself. And the best version of you is what the world needs. It is only when you prioritize yourself that you can show up fully for others. But it begins with making the decision to turn your attention inward. You might be wondering, how do you begin? The first step is to take a hard look at where you are in your life right now. Take an honest inventory of the things that are draining your energy, the people or situations that are holding you back, and the habits that are no longer serving you. It's about being brutally honest with yourself. You can't change what you won't acknowledge. Once you have that clarity, you can start making decisions that align with the person you want to become. This could mean setting boundaries, saying no to things that aren't aligned with your purpose, and cutting out distractions that don't serve you. You may feel resistance to this, especially if you've been conditioned to be available to others at all times. But let me tell you, creating boundaries is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It's not about shutting people out or being selfish. It's about protecting your energy, protecting your peace. Boundaries allow you to show up in a way that is authentic, in a way that honors your own needs. When you learn to say no to things that aren't in alignment with your goals, you open the door to more space for the things that truly matter. As you focus more on yourself, you will also begin to recognize the areas where you need healing. Healing isn't just about fixing the wounds from your past, it's about creating space for your future. Many of us carry baggage from past experiences, whether it's hurt, disappointment, or fear. We hold on to these things thinking that if we ignore them, they'll go away. But unresolved pain has a way of showing up in our lives in ways we don't expect. When you focus on yourself, you are giving yourself permission to heal. You are choosing to release the weight of the past so that you can step into the future with freedom and clarity. This process may take time and it may be uncomfortable, but it's necessary for your growth. Healing also involves forgiveness, not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. So often we are our harshest critics. We carry guilt, regret, and self-blame that keeps us stuck in the past. But in order to move forward, we must release ourselves from those chains. You have to remind yourself that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. You are not defined by your past mistakes or regrets. You are defined by the person you are becoming. Healing is about letting go of those limiting beliefs that have kept you small and stepping into the truth of who you really are. Focusing on yourself also means learning to love yourself fully. Self-love isn't just about positive affirmations or pampering yourself, although those things are important. True self-love is about accepting yourself, flaws and all. It's about recognizing that you are enough exactly as you are. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness, compassion, and understanding that you show to others. Self-love is the foundation of everything else. When you love yourself, you are more likely to make choices that honor your well-being, your peace, and your purpose. You are more likely to create a life that reflects your worth, and when you do that, the world begins to take notice. But none of this happens overnight. Transformation is a gradual process that requires patience and consistency. You will not always feel motivated, and there will be times when you want to give up. But the key is to keep showing up, even on the days when it feels difficult. You won't always see immediate results, but if you remain consistent, the progress will come. Every small step you take toward focusing on yourself, whether it's taking time to rest, making a healthy decision, or setting a boundary, adds up. Over time, you will look back and see how far you've come. The most beautiful thing about focusing on yourself is that it doesn't just change you, it changes everything around you. As you grow, evolve, and heal, you become an inspiration to others. You show them that it's okay to prioritize their own well-being. You give them permission to focus on their own growth. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect that spreads far beyond yourself. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's an act of love for yourself and for those you're meant to impact. When you become the best version of yourself, you become a beacon of light for others to follow. And in that light, you will find the peace, joy, and fulfillment that you've been seeking all along. So take that first step. Focus on yourself. And know that as you do, everything else will fall into place. Focusing on yourself is often perceived as a selfish act in a world that prioritizes the needs of others, but it is in fact one of the most selfless decisions you can make. It is only when you focus on your own well-being that you can genuinely contribute to the world and to the people around you in a meaningful way. To focus on yourself is to recognize that you are deserving of time, attention, and care. It's about treating yourself with the same love, compassion, and grace that you offer to others. But even more importantly, it's about understanding that your growth, your peace, and your healing are the building blocks for everything you want to achieve in your life. The world we live in constantly encourages us to put others first. We're taught from an early age that our value is tied to how much we give to others, how much we serve, how much we sacrifice. But there is a danger cycle in this. When we give too much and don't take time to replenish our own energy, we deplete ourselves. And when we are depleted, we have nothing left to offer. This is why focusing on yourself is essential. It's not about turning your back on others, but rather learning to take care of yourself so that you can show up as the best version of yourself for those around you. Focusing on yourself is the first step in the journey to healing. Often we push aside our own needs, hoping that they will be addressed later, but when we do this, we carry the burden of neglecting ourselves. It's time to stop ignoring your own soul's desires, your emotional needs, your body's signals for rest, and your mind's desire for peace. You can't heal what you refuse to acknowledge, and the first step to healing is acknowledging the need for it. Healing isn't just about recovering from past wounds. It's about creating a future in which you are stronger, healthier, and more aligned with your true self. When you begin to focus on yourself, it is not a selfish act, but a necessary one. You may feel resistance at first, particularly if you've spent most of your life giving and serving others. But what you'll begin to understand is that focusing on yourself doesn't mean that you're cutting off those who need you. Instead, you're creating a space to replenish your energy so that you can show up for others with even more power and purpose. The people you care about need you to be well. They need you to take care of yourself. By focusing on your own needs, you can continue to give love and support without feeling exhausted or burned out. One of the biggest challenges we face when deciding to focus on ourselves is guilt. We've been conditioned to think that it's wrong to put ourselves first, but this could not be further from the truth. When you focus on yourself, it's not an act of selfishness, but an act of self-respect. You cannot be the best partner, parent, friend, or leader if you're not at your best. To put yourself first is not an indulgence, it is an investment in your well-being. It is taking the time to restore your energy so that you can give from a place of abundance instead of depletion. Self-care is one of the most important ways we begin to focus on ourselves. But self-care is more than just taking a bubble bath or going for a walk. It's about taking an honest look at what you need physically, emotionally, and spiritually. What is draining you? What is robbing you of peace? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. And the answers will be different for everyone. For some, focusing on yourself may mean taking time to rest and recuperate. For others, it might mean setting boundaries with people who are no longer aligned with your goals. It could mean letting go of old habits or creating new routines that nurture your mental and physical health. Whatever it looks like for you, self-care is about listening to your body, mind, and soul and giving yourself what you need to grow and thrive. As you begin this journey, you will also notice that focusing on yourself helps you build the confidence to say no to things that no longer serve you. The fear of disappointing others can be paralyzing, but once you realize that protecting your peace is the most important thing you can do for yourself, saying no becomes much easier. You'll start to recognize that saying no to things that drain you or don't align with your purpose is an act of self-love. By saying no, you are making room for the things that truly matter. You're creating space for growth, for peace, for joy. And when you start to say no to the things that aren't serving you, you'll find that your life begins to fill with more of what you actually want. At some point in this process, you may encounter fear and resistance. Focusing on yourself means stepping into a space that is unfamiliar. It means letting go of old patterns, beliefs, and habits that you've held onto for years. And that's hard. It's not easy to break free from the expectations of others, the pressure to be everything for everyone, or the familiar roles you've played in your relationships. But I promise you this, the discomfort you feel is a sign of growth. It's a sign that you are stretching beyond your current limitations and stepping into your higher self. Growth is never comfortable, but it is always worth it. The beauty of focusing on yourself is that it brings clarity. It's in the moments when we are still, when we make space for ourselves, that we are able to hear the whispers of our souls. The more you focus on your needs, the clearer your purpose will become. The path that was once foggy will start to clear, and you'll find that opportunities and connections will align with your vision. You will no longer be running on autopilot, simply reacting to what life throws at you. Instead, you will be moving with intention, living in alignment with your truest self. As you continue on this journey, remember that it is not about perfection. Focusing on yourself is a continuous process, not a destination. You will have moments where you fall back into old habits, where you feel overwhelmed or disconnected. That's okay. The key is to keep coming back to yourself, to keep choosing to prioritize your well-being. The more you practice focusing on yourself, the easier it will become, and over time, you will notice the positive shifts in your life. You'll become more confident, more peaceful, and more aligned with the person you were always meant to be. Start today. Focus on yourself until the focus is you. Give yourself the love, care, and attention you deserve. And as you do, you will begin to transform your life in ways you never imagined possible. You are worthy of this journey, and the world needs you to be your best self. The journey of focusing on yourself begins with a simple yet profound realization that you are worthy of your own time, energy, and attention. Too often, we get caught up in the hustle of daily life, attending to the needs of everyone around us while pushing our own needs to the back burner. We are conditioned by the world to think that taking time for ourselves is selfish, that putting our own needs first makes us bad or unworthy. But the truth is, focusing on yourself is the key to unlocking the highest version of who you are, and it is essential to living a fulfilled, purposeful life. When you begin to focus on yourself, it might feel unnatural at first. You may feel guilty for prioritizing your own happiness or for carving out time for personal growth. But what you need to realize is that focusing on yourself isn't about excluding others or abandoning your responsibilities. It is about giving yourself the space to grow, heal, and become the best version of who you are meant to be. When you take the time to invest in your own well-being, you become a better version of yourself, not just for you, but for everyone around you. The most profound shift happens when you realize that focusing on yourself is the foundation for everything else in your life. When you give yourself the time and energy to grow, you stop being a passive observer of your life and start actively participating in the creation of your own future. This shift is incredibly powerful because it moves you from a place of reacting to life's circumstances to a place of intentionality. When you focus on your growth and healing, you create an environment in which your best self can flourish. It's essential to begin by addressing the underlying beliefs that have kept you from focusing on yourself. Many of us have been taught to put others first, often at the expense of our own needs. Whether it's in the form of pleasing others, meeting others' expectations, or fulfilling societal roles, we learn early on to place our value in what we give and do for others. The reality, however, is that when you live for others and neglect yourself, you end up with resentment, burnout, and a lack of fulfillment. To live a life that is true to who you are, you must unlearn these limiting beliefs and shift your mindset. Focusing on yourself is an act of self-love. It is the recognition that you are worthy of respect, kindness, and care, not just from others, but from yourself. So often we give ourselves the least amount of attention. We may be harsh critics of ourselves, or we may neglect our physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. But when you begin to nurture yourself, when you take the time to listen to your own desires, dreams, and feelings, you create an environment that allows you to flourish. And when you start focusing on your own well-being, you begin to see positive changes ripple through all aspects of your life. Self-care is a fundamental part of this process. It is not just about bubble baths and spa days, although those can certainly be part of it. It's about taking a proactive approach to your well-being. Self-care means taking the time to nourish your body with healthy food, enough rest, and regular exercise. It means taking care of your mental health by setting aside time for reflection, meditation, or journaling. It means emotional self-care, where you allow yourself the space to feel your emotions without judgment, and setting boundaries with people or situations that drain your energy. It's also about spiritual care, where you create space to connect with your inner self, your values, and your purpose. However, focusing on yourself is not only about self-care, it's also about setting boundaries. For many of us, saying no is one of the hardest things to do. We fear disappointing others, or we feel guilty for not being available all the time. But the truth is, saying no is a powerful way to protect your energy and maintain your peace. Setting boundaries is not about being harsh or unkind. It's about respecting yourself enough to preserve your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. When you learn to say no, you free yourself from obligations that do not align with your purpose, and you create the space to focus on what truly matters. Another crucial aspect of focusing on yourself is self-compassion. We all make mistakes, and we all have areas of our lives that need growth and healing. But often, instead of showing ourselves grace, we criticize ourselves for our perceived flaws. It's important to remember that you are human, and being human means making mistakes, learning from them, and evolving. Show yourself the same kindness you would show a friend in need. Be gentle with yourself and recognize that growth is a process, not an event. When you begin to practice self-compassion, you free yourself from the cycle of self-doubt and criticism, and you allow yourself to embrace the process of becoming better without being consumed by perfectionism. Healing is also a natural part of focusing on yourself. We all carry emotional baggage from past experiences, and we often avoid facing the pain that these experiences have caused us. But true growth comes when you are willing to face these wounds, not as a form of self-punishment, but as a way to heal and move forward. By acknowledging the parts of yourself that need healing, you take the first step toward reclaiming your power. Whether it's forgiving someone, letting go of resentment, or healing from past trauma, focusing on yourself means addressing the areas where you need to heal and allowing yourself the space to do so. Healing is a journey, and it is one that requires time, patience, and self-compassion. Finally, focusing on yourself involves understanding that you are worthy of success, happiness, and love. Too often, we shrink from our potential because we believe that we are not deserving of greatness. But the truth is, you are worthy of every good thing that comes your way. Your worth is inherent in who you are, not in what you accomplish or how much you give to others. When you begin to focus on yourself, you recognize that you are deserving of all the joy, love, and success life has to offer. And when you claim your worth, you start to make decisions that align with the future you want to create. You take steps toward your goals, even when it feels hard, and you push through obstacles with the confidence that you are worthy of everything you desire. Focusing on yourself until the focus is you is not a selfish act. It is the most powerful thing you can do for your own well-being and for the world around you. When you invest in yourself, you open up the possibility of living a life that is truly authentic, fulfilling, and aligned with your purpose. As you grow, heal, and evolve, you will become a living example of what it means to take ownership of your own life. So embrace the process of focusing on yourself, because it is the path to everything you've ever dreamed of. When you focus on yourself, you take the first and most important step toward living a life that is aligned with your true purpose. Too often, we place ourselves on the back burner, prioritizing the needs of others while neglecting our own. We are conditioned to believe that caring for ourselves is selfish, and that being constantly available to others is a sign of love and sacrifice. But the truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. To truly show up for others, you first have to show up for yourself. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean abandoning the people around you. Nor does it mean neglecting your responsibilities. What it means is that you recognize your own worth and your own needs. You understand that you cannot give your best to the world if you are not in a place of balance, peace, and strength. Focusing on yourself is an act of self-love, and it's the foundation on which everything else is built. When you decide to take care of your mind, body, and spirit, you unlock the capacity to be the best version of yourself, not just for you, but for everyone around you. To focus on yourself is to take ownership of your well-being. It requires you to acknowledge that your health, your peace of mind, and your growth are not secondary, they are primary. Often we neglect ourselves in the name of duty, love, or service, but neglecting ourselves only leads to exhaustion, resentment, and burnout. It's time to break that cycle. Focusing on yourself is a way of replenishing your energy, healing from past wounds, and building the strength to keep moving forward in your life. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Because when you show up as your true, authentic self, you create a ripple effect that impacts everyone around you. The process of focusing on yourself begins with self-awareness. This is the foundation of all growth. To truly focus on yourself, you have to be honest with yourself about where you are in life and where you want to go. What are your dreams? What are your passions? What are the things that light you up, and what are the things that drain you? Self-awareness allows you to examine your current reality, identify the areas that need improvement, and make intentional choices that align with your goals and values. One of the most significant steps in focusing on yourself is learning to set boundaries. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. They allow you to protect your time, energy, and peace. But for many of us, setting boundaries is difficult. We fear disappointing others or being seen as selfish. However, boundaries are essential for maintaining your mental, emotional, and physical health. When you learn to say no to things that drain you, you create the space to say yes to the things that uplift you. Boundaries allow you to take control of your life instead of letting life control you. By setting boundaries, you give yourself permission to prioritize your own needs. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are valuable and that you deserve to spend them on things that bring you joy, growth, and fulfillment. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent a lifetime of saying yes to everyone else. But with practice, setting boundaries becomes second nature. And once you experience the freedom that comes with honoring your needs, you'll never want to go back. Another critical part of focusing on yourself is healing. Healing is a process that allows you to release the emotional weight and mental clutter that have accumulated over the years. Many of us carry unresolved pain, whether from past relationships, childhood experiences, or the pressures of everyday life. This pain doesn't just go away, it stays with us until we acknowledge it and make the decision to heal. Focusing on yourself means creating the space to heal, whether that's through therapy, meditation, journaling, or simply allowing yourself to feel and process your emotions. Healing is not linear. Some days it will feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but every step you take toward healing is a victory. It's important to remember that healing is not about erasing the past or pretending that it never happened. It's about acknowledging the pain, learning from it, and choosing to move forward in a way that is healthier and more aligned with your future. When you focus on yourself, you give yourself the gift of healing, and through that healing, you create a new, empowered version of yourself. As you focus on yourself, it's also essential to practice self-compassion. So often we are our own harshest critics. We beat ourselves up for our mistakes, our perceived flaws, and our shortcomings. But self-compassion is about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend in need. It's about recognizing that you are doing the best you can, and that your worth is not determined by your achievements or the opinions of others. Self-compassion allows you to release the negative self-talk and replace it with love and acceptance. This shift is transformative because it allows you to embrace your true self without judgment, creating the space for you to grow, evolve, and thrive. Another key aspect of focusing on yourself is making time for rest and rejuvenation. In a world that glorifies productivity, it can be hard to prioritize rest. We are often taught to value constant hustle, believing that if we're not constantly working, we're not achieving enough. But rest is just as important as work. When you give yourself permission to rest, you give your mind and body the chance to recharge and heal. Rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's in the moments of rest that we find clarity, creativity, and the energy we need to keep moving forward. Lastly, focusing on yourself requires cultivating self-love. Self-love is the foundation of everything. It's the belief that you are worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving everything you desire in life. When you love yourself, you stop settling for less than you deserve. You stop tolerating unhealthy relationships, situations, or environments that drain your energy. Self-love means accepting yourself fully, flaws, imperfections, and all. It means treating yourself with kindness, speaking to yourself with compassion, and making choices that align with your highest good. The more you practice self-love, the more you will attract love, abundance, and peace into your life. Focusing on yourself is not a one-time act. It's a continuous practice. It's a commitment to your own growth, healing, and well-being. When you focus on yourself, you become the best version of yourself and you create a life that is aligned with your true purpose. So embrace the journey of focusing on yourself. It's not selfish, it's necessary. It's the key to unlocking the life you've always dreamed of. In conclusion, focusing on yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is a profound and necessary step toward living a life of authenticity, peace, and fulfillment. It requires you to recognize your worth, prioritize your well-being, and create the space for growth, healing, and self-love. By setting boundaries, practicing self-compassion, and allowing yourself the time to rest and rejuvenate, you begin to unlock your full potential. When you invest in yourself, your mind, body, and spirit, you not only become the best version of yourself, but also create the capacity to show up as your most powerful and loving self for those around you. The process of focusing on yourself is not always easy, but it is always worth it. It might be uncomfortable at first, especially when you've spent so long putting others first, but over time, you will see the positive shifts in your life. The more you focus on your needs, the clearer your purpose becomes, and the more you align with the life you were meant to live. Remember, when you focus on yourself until the focus is you, you begin to shine in ways you never thought possible, and in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. So commit to this journey, honor your worth, and trust that as you invest in yourself, the world around you will be transformed.